Right. Good morning or afternoon, almost afternoon anyway. It's 11:59 on my end. Welcome everyone to our webinar Wednesday series for the Texas Association of College and University Student Personnel Administrators, known as TACUSPA. TACUSPA enhances higher education and student success by cultivating relationships and engagement that promote leadership development among current and aspiring student affairs practitioners and scholars. Our vision is leading innovation in student development, engagement, and success. TACUSPA is an association of administrators, staff, faculty, students, and others interested in the professional administration of student affairs programs in higher education. The association's core values include development, advocacy, and networking. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks everyone in attendance. This is part 2 of getting to know our TACUSPA fellows. My name is Josh Meredith. I'm currently the Director of Student Life at South Plains College and serve as the Director of Webinars for TACUSPA. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor for our webinar series, Alex and Odessa College, for hosting the technological back end of this and making everything work so seamlessly. So thank you, Odessa College and Alex. And I also want to thank the TACUSPA Foundation for sponsoring the Thomas Mormon Fellowship Program, which we're featuring on today's webinar. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please put them in the Q&A or the chat and we'll address them. Today's presentation is more lighthearted and networking focused, so please, I encourage you all to drop any kind of question you have into the Q&A or the chat. Now, let me introduce our presenters. First, I want to introduce what we're featuring today, the Thomas Mormon Fellowship Program. So the purpose of the Thomas Mormon Fellowship Program is to provide an intensive professional development experience, mentoring, and support to future leaders in the association, the association, if I can speak, and the field of student personnel administration. The program is funded by the TACUSPA Foundation. Each year, the Foundation Committee recommends the number of fellows that can be supported based on the cost of conference registration, lodging, and the revenue generated from the prior year's donations. The program pairs selected fellows with a TACUSPA volunteer leader to complete a project developed by the board of directors. Throughout the fellows' term, they will be guided and mentored by an experienced association volunteer leader under the supervision of a board member. Fellows were selected in May and have begun working on their assigned projects with their mentors. The project must be completed by September 15th to be eligible for conference registration, lodging, and other related travel expenses. Fellows will present their completed project to the board during a regular meeting in the fall, and they will be recognized at the 2024 TACUSPA Annual Conference. Now, without further ado, let's introduce our two presenters today. Jamie Saucedo, is that how you pronounce your last name? Okay. Jamie's Student Program Coordinator at the University for the University Leadership Network at the University of Texas at Austin. He is the President Shadow Fellow. And a fun fact, if you didn't know, I was going to pull this from the email that went out, is that he met his partner competing in the graduate case study competition at the 2023 TACUSPA Annual Conference. Woo! All right. I read that and I was like, all right, okay. Networking on many levels. Mariana Canales is a resident director. Oh, how we did I forgot my slides. There's Jamie. And Mariana Canales is a resident director for Housing and Residence Life at Texas State University. She is a membership and marketing fellow. And fun fact is she loves to travel and has traveled to over 10 different countries. That's impressive. And she's unable to join us today. She's finishing a fellowship at Harvard University and had some flight delays. So she was supposed to travel yesterday and she's coming back today. But Darely Rojo is a graduate assistant in the Department of Multicultural Services at Texas A&M University. She's a fellow for the TACUSPA Foundation, and she had the opportunity, fun fact, she had the opportunity to meet NFL football player Von Miller at this year's Gig'em Gala at Texas A&M. So that's pretty cool. Without further ado, let's dive into some of these questions I have for y'all. So what we'll just kind of ping pong. I'll ask the first question. We'll go Jamie, Mariana. Second question, you got Mariana, Jamie. We'll just kind of alternate in that way. So question number one, Jamie, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, your background, and how you got involved with TACUSPA.
Yeah. So real fast, my bad. My name is Jaime Salcedo.
Right.
So I'm really excited to be able to be here. You're good, no worries. So yeah, my name is Jaime Salcedo. My pronouns are he, they, ella. Like you said, a student program coordinator over here at UT. I'm working primarily with second year students, trying to get them from that second year slump to second year success. So really excited to join the UT family and, get to work some stuff like that. My background is at Texas State University. So I have my bachelor's of science in elementary education and my master's in student affairs and higher ed, both from Texas State. I am a trio baby, trio achiever. So all things first generation, low income, that's kind of where my passion is. I do consider myself, first generation queer, brown, non-binary scholarly practitioner. And my favorite thing to say is like I'm a cultivator of joy. I think joy is just so fantastic. And so anything that I do, I want to make sure my students find joy in themselves and what they're studying, what they want to do. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I'm from San Marcos, so y'all coming back here is just so important to me. You're coming to my hometown. Um, and I've been a part of TACUSPA or been involved with TACUSPA since 2019. I think the last time y'all had TACUSPA in San Marcos was the first time I attended as an undergraduate student. And since then, it's just kind of taken off. I really have enjoyed I think it was the first professional conference I went to, the first conference based in student affairs. And, as an undergraduate student, you're like, what do I do after this? And this was just, it aligned so perfectly for me. And so I got to learn a little bit about the association, attend, and then from there, I did join the TACUSPA conference in 2022, but last year is really when it just kind of kicked off for me. I really did enjoy being able to, I made it a goal for me to present, and so I was able to do that. Shout out to my partner, Jocelyn Martinez. We did win the biggest Buzz Award last year. What's good? We also competed in the TACUSPA Graduate Study Conference or competition, and we were able to win that as well. So we really did just have a great time. Something about it was very fundamental for me to kind of change my like aspect of like what is it that it means to be involved in a professional association. I was kind of more or less like, that'll come later on, but now I'm more like this is something that I really want to do and passionate about getting accessible, getting more people into the association as well. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me and my involvement with TACUSPA.
That's awesome. And this is a little bit embarrassing because we've sat at the same dinner table and I was reviewing this, my notes have been, and I'm like, how do I pronounce his name? Like and I went for it and I'm wrong. So that's a little embarrassing on my part. But
No worries, all good, all good.
Mariana, it's your turn. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your education, your background, and how you got involved with the TACUSPA.
So hi everybody, my name is Mariana Canales. I'm originally from Roma, Texas, which is a small border town on the tip of Texas. I did my undergraduate degree in biology, so very, very different, at Texas A&M International University in Laredo, Texas. And then I did my master's program at Texas A&M, so whoop, gig 'em, at Tex in student affairs and higher education, so their SAHI program. I am a residence director currently at Texas State University. I've been in the job for about 3 months now, so still getting in the hang of it, going full swing now that our RAs have arrived and, just preparing the building and everything for move-in. So it's been a crazy couple of days that we started doing that. But I'm also starting my doctoral program at Texas Tech University where I'll be getting, I'll be starting at orientation like 2 weeks ago, so it's a little nerve-wracking. So kind of getting used to the fact that I'm like, oh, I have to go back to school. But I'll be doing their PhD program in higher education, so I'm looking forward to that. My involvement with TACUSPA kind of started, I wasn't really looking, I think, for involvement. It kind of just like found it. At the time, I had my supervisor, her name was Brooke Arrington, and she was really, really involved in TACUSPA, and she kind of told me all about like the projects and the things that she was doing. And I kind of just like, she took me under her wing and I kind of just like followed in her footsteps and started becoming involved in my own ways, which was really nice. I ended up being, or started being a part of like the membership and marketing committee, and so helping with like some of the promo items, and I was able to join her in the last conference at Ed Basel, and so that was really fun. Where now we get to be part of like the conference planning committee, and so I found another professional home, and it was very welcoming, very nice. I enjoyed all the individuals that I got to network with, all the professional development that TACUSPA offers. And then just being a part of like all the little projects that go on is, I think, was really cool, really heartwarming. And so kind of encouraged me to keep on being involved and applying for the fellowship position. But yeah, that's kind of like how I ended up here.
That's awesome. Thanks y'all for sharing. We'll stick with you, Mariana. Could you tell us more specifically about your fellowship, your role in TACUSPA, and kind of what you're currently working on?
So as I mentioned, I kind of started off in the membership and marketing committee. I love making flyers. I think it's just something super easy that you can do to put together and kind of like able to show like your creative side. So that's kind of how I started off helping out with like the newsletter. And so I've taken like a professional interest in like professional development, student development. And so how does that show up in spaces and in conferences? And so that's kind of like what I'm looking at, kind of like the professional tracks, and kind of like to come out with like an outline and like a system on how we can do that at the conference level so that like everybody's enjoying it. I'm affiliated with another professional organization as well called SWACUHO, which is our housing organization, regional housing organization. And I talked with them about like their professional tracks, and so kind of like comparing them to ours and how can we make them better, and how can we make that track experience overall just better for all of our attendees and inclusive of all of our attendees and their different interests. So that's one of the things I've been working on. I've also been working on, sorry, I like wrote it down because I forget, the development communication plan for membership. And so kind of like making like a timeline kind of outline of what needs to be done and submitted. And that kind of would help us on like, well, because like we all have full-time jobs. Some of us are in doctoral programs, some of us has families and stuff. And so how can we like streamline that process, make that process a little bit better, and then making sure that we're submitting things and getting things out to, our organization in a timely manner and stuff like that. And that way we're not like reinventing the wheel, reinventing the cycle and all of that, because like, I mean, people transition out of positions. And so that's another thing that I was working on. And then the last thing that I was working on was I was kind of looking into doing like kind of like a conference, like I want to say conference bingo, but that's not like exactly what I had called it. Because I went to conference last year and it was like my first time as a conference attendee. And I remember getting like my booklet and seeing like all these individual, like I saw the president, I saw the VP, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I would really like, as a new professional, I'd really like to go and say hi to them, but like I didn't really have like a touch point. And so like especially when you're new sometimes in the profession, like that can be a little bit intimidating. And so I had called it kind of like a little bit like a scavenger hunt. And so maybe like implementing that in the booklet is something that I've been working on. I'm almost done with it, just because like I've been playing around with like the graphics and stuff, and I've been showing Gabby and oh, and Shelby. I forgot my mentor's name. I've been showing Gabby and Shelby, so been working with them on doing that. Yeah, that's not how it's recorded. But yeah, so there's just some of like the little projects that I've been working on. And I think like, I don't know, it's been really cool to kind of see it all come together. And so I'm looking forward to presenting that whenever the time comes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's one of the things I need to talk to you about, because we've been working through webinars. Hey, how can we rebuild webinars, get that monthly consistency? We're not diving super deep into any particular topic today. It's more networking focused. But we also talked about on our committee, how can we tie in, using this to connect to other points of TACUSPA. And one of the things we talked about was pre-conference stuff. So how can we use this to facilitate connections ahead of conference? Or can we do like a webinar featuring just an AMA on like, what are some things as a new professional or anyone attending as an undergraduate student or a graduate student who's never been to a professional conference? So that's actually what our next two webinars will feature. We're going to do an AMA for our first Wednesday in September. conference AMA, what are questions folks have on the conference, but then on September 18th, I believe, we're going to do just a low-key, like pre-conference Zoom meeting for people to talk to each other and kind of get their feedback ahead of the conference to make those interactions easier and to have a face that you know when you conference. So great work that you're doing. Jaime, it's your turn. I'm going to sit here and ramble if you let me. Tell us more about your role with TACUSPA and what
Yeah, so
are you working on this summer?
I've been doing some fun stuff. I know primarily when I'm thinking about my role, we're looking at forward to 2025 conference, but we've been able to kind of identify some things that we can get done now for hopefully a smoother transition into the 2024 conference. And we're just trying to roll stuff out to see if it works well or not, so that we can see if it's something we want to continue to do. Crazy that y'all mentioned this, but this gets so connected to some of the stuff that I'm doing, so we'll have to all get connected to talk about it. But I wanted to we were working on some like first time attendee, first time session conference material. And so getting all the first time attendees together, kind of like you said, going over what is like going over some of these myths that you have, thinking about what does it mean to be a first time attendee, a new professional in this space, and then how to navigate, the different conference sessions or how to choose, which session to go to, even how to have conversations networking. And so we gave some tips on that. We were able to also provide some information about, what are some things that you can do in San Marcos. And so I'm really hoping to be able to provide some of that information to our first time attendees, just being able to build that community. Like I mentioned, my first time I attended was in undergrad and I was so lost. Thankfully, I went as a group. And so I was able to like come back, and that imposter syndrome really does come into play. And so I really want to just be able to provide a space for them to come together. Hopefully, we get to connect one on one, and they are able to really take away what the conference is for them, right? So, being able to discuss what they're learning, how to communicate that to, when they go back to their institution or whatever it may be. So yeah, I've been primarily working on some of the materials for that, to have a first time attendee session. Outside of that, I've been working on assessment pieces. So last year when I presented, I think one of the things I was really looking forward to was getting some information back, like, what are some rooms for improvement? What are some things that I think I did very well? And so I was able to kind of think about what do I do? How can I incorporate that information into this next session? And so we're working on trying to get some, different assessment pieces for our conference presenters, for the conference itself, things like that. So be on the lookout. We're trying to get some people interested in maybe providing that feedback, specific feedback to the presenters. And so hopefully we'll be able to roll that out soon, just to get that, the opportunity to really grow. I think it's so important to be able to learn what you do well, and being able to learn, what are the different options for you to modify and continue to excel in this presentation. I think that's one of the best things that TACUSPA has offered me is opportunities to really network and talk, but also to like, here are some things that I know now that I want to set goals for myself. And so I definitely do enjoy that aspect, and I wanted to kind of incorporate that into maybe first time presenters or things like that so that they can also have that opportunity. I think TACUSPA has offered me a safe space. Like I said, it's the first time I ever presented at a professional conference. And so, I wanted to be able to continue to give that energy to moving forward with first time presenters as well. Outside of that, looking towards 2025, I'm trying to create, different aspects for us to reach out to more sponsors to secure some more funding, as well as like a timeline of these are certain things that we should be doing at this point to ensure that we also have a smooth conference, you know, um, just a smooth conference in general, whether that's like, what is the graduate student experience? When should we start doing that? When should we send out the call for program proposals? Just notifications on general things like that. So that's been or a handful of the things that I've been focused on.
Really cool to hear y'all's answers because I think what I've learned being involved with the TACUSPA is that there are just so many ways that different individuals can find a need, utilize their strengths, and apply it. Right. I 1 year ago went to the conference and gave my presentation on my fellowship, and they said, "Great, do you want to like share webinars?" Right. And here we are. Right. The sky's the limit. And once you get involved, once you get into those meetings, once you experience what it's like, you're able to see, oh, I can do this. Like I have a skill set in this area, or here's a need that the association has that I can help work towards addressing with the team or what have you. So really cool to hear what y'all are working on. And obviously a lot of this, we're going to lay the groundwork and it's going to continue, even after we're no longer involved with TACUSPA. So that's awesome. Jaime, you touched on this a little bit, but I'll turn it back to you. What do you hope to gain from your time as a TACUSPA fellow? What are some things that you really want to glean from your experience as a fellow?
Yeah, so I definitely think for me, one of the biggest things is just finding mentorship. I think I tend to find mentors within my specific institution. For me, it was at Texas State for the longest time. And so I wanted to kind of expand it out. What does it look like to have a regional association? Like I mentioned, that wasn't something that I was really looking for, but something just clicked for me to like, I want to continue to expand my network outside of just my home institution. And so I know that was an opportunity that I could get from this, working with my, the people that will assist me with the Presidential Shadow Fellow. Right now, I've been able to get some help from Shelby, from Brooke, and from Dr. Neil Golimo. And they've just been phenomenal. I think I still face imposter syndrome in that, like, man, I don't know how to reach out to these people and have conversations, and they just make it so easy. Check in personally with like who I am as an individual, but also, what are my professional goals and how does this fellowship help connect me to that? And I think that's something that I was really, really looking forward to is being able to find somebody outside of my home institution and somebody that doesn't do the same stuff that I do or even looks like me to help find that different type of point of view for mentorship, that stuff like that. Additionally, I think, I'm also interested in continuing my education. And so I was hoping to connect to individuals to talk about what are the different PhD programs they attended or, recommend or things like that. And so that's been something that I've also had conversations about with a few different folks. Is just, I know I'm interested in continuing. What do you consider this? Or what are some topics to cover when I'm thinking about looking around at different programs and whatnot? So I think for me, again, it's just really finding people to continue to network. I think that's one of the skills I need to grow. I tend to like get anxious or nervous connecting to new folk, and it's just been such an easy transition piece for me to connect to these people who are serving in this mentorship role for this fellowship. But also they connect me to other people. So like I got connected to Gabby to go over marketing stuff, and I was just continue to I don't know the network continues to expand, and I think that's just so exciting because that's really what I think my end goal was is to be able to find a home in this association in this region. I think I've wanted to work in diversity, programming for so long, and since that's no longer really an option, but I'm not willing to move far away from my family. I wanted to also pivot and think about what are the different, different functional areas that will fit my skill. And I think that's also been kind of coming up easily during conversations as well, is thinking about those different areas that I can grow into. So yeah, I think for me, again, just summary like mentorship, networking, education, and just being able to really find a home. I think TACUSPA offers me that opportunity, and I'm really excited to see, where I continue to grow in this association as well.
That's awesome. You touched on so much there. And I'm going to say you belong in TACUSPA. Like I can sense the passion and like how much you've gleaned already. And for what it's worth, there's no need to feel imposter syndrome. Like I want to ask you some questions about this PhD program because I remember at last year's conference shuttling on the bus and picking the brains of folk in the bus of, oh, you have a PhD. What program did you do? What advice do you have? So like that was a huge thing for me. And then the networking piece, be careful what you wish for because networking to TACUSPA is taking me out of Texas. And so the irony is that like accepting the job offer, one of the cons was I'm gonna have to leave Texas and TACUSPA. And so uh, I love that that's your passion. We're gonna pivot though, because Mariana has a lot to say, I'm sure. Mariana, what do you hope to gain and glean from your experience as a TACUSPA fellow?
Well, first I want to say that if you all do have any questions about PhD programs, I'll be able to let you all know how my program goes. Because I'll be starting that pretty soon, August 22nd to be exact. But I think the cool thing about like this fellowship, I do think, I guess to kind of like touch point on Jaime, is all the connections that I've made. And I think it was the encouragement of others and like the mentors that I met, whether it was at conference or even just like I look at Brooke as like one of a big mentor for me. And then like talking with Shelby and Gabby and just Corey and all the other individuals that I got to talk to at conference, like their encouragement to apply. There was also like even a point at conference where they asked like all the past fellows to stand up, and I think that was pretty cool. And I was like, oh, cool, like all these people did it. Like I know these individuals, and so let me go talk to them and see like what the benefits are. And I do think like the experience from being a fellow is like what you make of it. So if you want to like immerse yourself and dive into your project and really get to know and talk to your mentor and see like what it is that TACUSPA needs, then you're able to like get the most out of it. And I think for me as a professional, especially like a new professional, I'm currently doing Res Life. I kind of like fell into Res Life in my graduate assistantship, and I remember like my first day on the job being like, oh, I don't know what I got myself into. And then I ended up liking it. I got to wear a bunch of different hats, got to do a bunch of different things. And so it's pretty cool now that I'm here, like at my first time job, and I'm like, okay, like graduate school, my graduate assistantship prepared me. But I think I'm hoping to get out of this fellowship is just like skills in case like the day of tomorrow I decide, like maybe I don't want to do residence life anymore and have experience in other areas where I'm able to like use those transferable skills and like apply them to different areas, expertise in our field. I also think like another big thing for me is like I love learning. Anybody who knows me will tell you I'm an avid book reader, whether it's audiobooks or just reading a book. I listen to podcasts a lot. And so I love picking like other professionals' brains and learning about how they do things. And what I always appreciated as a grad and even now, like as a full-time professional, are the individuals that I get to work with who never like don't tell me no and who will like meet me halfway. And so I think that's what I love about this project, all these projects that we get to work on, is that we get to find innovative ways to do the things that you all have been trying to do. And I think it's great. Another thing I would also say additionally is, again, like Jaime said, like that professional home. It's like I'm a part of NASPA. I'm a part of like our regional housing association as well. But the connections that I made at TACUSPA this past coming conference, the individuals that I got to talk to are still individuals that I talk to now, and it's been several months since conference. And so I'm really looking forward to going to conference again in September. And I actually work for Texas State now, so that's been kind of cool, being able to meet the individuals that are a part of the conference here at Texas State. And so just seeing those connections kind of come into play and finding that professional home that everybody talks about has been my experience so far and is what I believe I've been gaining through the fellowship. So
That's awesome. Well, you touched on something that's going to help us transition really well to our fourth and final question, but I've got a few follow-up questions, and I will say, if anyone else has any other questions related to anything we've touched on today, please drop them in the chat or into the Q&A. We'll have plenty of time here after this, but Mariana, what are you currently reading, watching, listening to, podcasts, books, newsletters, that inspires you that you would recommend your fellow TACUSPA members?
yeah. So currently, I actually have it right now because I've been trying to read like 15 pages a day, just because like with training and everything that's been going on with my RAs, it's called Beginning Your Journey. You can't see it because of I got it like at a NASPA conference, and it's called Beginning Your Journey. It's a guide for new professionals in student affairs. I submitted a presentation with a co-presenter yesterday, actually, to kind of do a presentation for new professionals who are transitioning into the full-time role. And so a lot of those key points, tips are coming from this book. And we're gonna do a little panel as well. So Jaime, you might be getting like a message from me and my co-presenter. So that's something that I'm currently reading. I'm also rereading Atomic Habits. I try to wake up early. It's just more efficient, but I think now with starting my doctoral program and like working full time and what does that like 40-hour work week look like plus doing schoolwork. So I really recommend that one. This is the second time that I've read that, and it talks about like habit loops and cycles, and I think it's really, really important. And then I do read a book for fun. So I'm currently reading Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. It's a fantasy series, but also really good. I think work is important and you're supposed to develop your mind, but I also think it's like really good to just to ease your heart in times. And I do that with the other books that I like to read. But as of right now, those are the three that I'm currently reading. If you're looking for like podcasts, I love like the Craig Rochelle Leadership podcast. That helps me like with supervisory style wise. It talks a little bit more about like business and marketing, but it has lots of like little key things that you can take away and you can kind of apply to your supervisory style. Um, and then there's also the Ed Milet show, and it's also again towards I feel like business individuals, but you can take a lot of stuff away from that and apply it to your work. So yeah.
That sounds fun. I feel like so I actually, when I was putting together this webinar series, I stole this question from a podcast that I listened to because it's been so fruitful. Like I jotted down the books and the podcast, and whenever they say, I'm like, oh, that sounds so interesting. Like I love getting my hands or my ears or my eyes on whatever I can learn or glean from, even if it's marketing or what have you. Like some of those things offer some really valuable insights. So thanks for sharing the plethora of what you're taking in currently. Jaime, we'll turn it over to you. What are you reading, watching, listening to currently that's been inspiring to you that you want to recommend to us?
Yeah, so I don't read. No, I'm just kidding. The grad school program definitely, kind of going through all those readings, and I'm definitely a lifelong learner. I enjoy it. So I continue to expand out that way, but when I can, I'm more of a let me just watch something, hear something. So if I'm talking about like just purely fun, recreational, like Crime Junkies has been my thing, unsolved mysteries, all that fun stuff, just things I get to listen to in the background while I'm doing some work, keeping me focused. But when I'm thinking about, I guess, a little bit inspirational wise, like I've been looking into decolonizing wellness. And so it's a book that really just targets to think about, what are some ways to liberate yourself utilizing some indigenous practices. And so I think that's something that I've been really diving into. As everybody knows, student affairs and student success initiatives and so on and so forth is just such a very, taxing field sometimes. And so depending on whether you're having conversations with students one-on-one, where, emotionally you're very ingrained into the conversation that follows you home or whatever it may be. I think I've been trying my best to understand, what does it mean to be this like new professional or whatever it is, and integrate some of that indigenous practices into that. And so really just learning how to practice like self-care, practice healthy boundaries, different things like that. As well as there's this other book called Practicing Liberation that's been kind of on my horizon right now, thinking about what does it look like in this day of age to be able to have like tools for grassroots activism and things like that to continue to think about in my own personal life, what does it look like for me to show up for my students and how do I navigate that in this day of age in Texas and just different things like that. And so I know for me, I've been really diving into more of those self-care practices of a lot of gratitude. I think I have my own gratitude journal now and being able to write down, like I said, what cultivates my joy and being able to it's a little therapeutic where I'm just jotting notes and things where it's like even if it's I use it sometimes as a planner and check personal things off and things like that. So I think those two books have kind of really helped me understand what it means to be like this new professional while still building my own sense of self-care and practicing some really good healthy habits as it comes to navigating the just how to continue to not burn out. I think that's the biggest pieces that I've really taken away from these two books.
What was that first book title? I wrote down the second one, but I didn't catch the title of the first.
Decolonizing Wellness.
Colonizing Wellness. Those are both going to go on my see if the library has it list. I've gotten better at not just buying things from Amazon. Go to the library. Go to the library. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I appreciate the Crime Junkie shout out because I'm pretty sure both hosts are from my home state of Indiana. So Indiana represents. Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I've got at least a few more questions here for y'all. The one thing I want to know, I think the thing that we three have in common, and one of the things I preach to my students here at a community college is you're not married to your major. Jaime, you said elementary education, I believe. Mariana, you said biology. What sparked, what's your higher education story? When did you pivot away kind of from what your undergrad major was it TACUSPA? What was it for you? So we'll start with Mariana and we'll go to Jaime, but what's your journey to higher education?
So I started in, like I said, biology. I was actually in an early acceptance program for PA school, so I was accepted into my program. It felt like my future was set. And then I worked on campus my sophomore year all the way up until my senior year. My first 2 years, I was a student mentor. And so I had the opportunity to mentor freshmen, and I had like mentor meetings with them. And honestly probably like one of my favorite parts of being at my undergrad institution. And then COVID happened. And so I was doing all these mentor meetings online through Blackboard. We didn't even use Zoom. We used Blackboard. And it wasn't fun. And I just remember all the late nights, like trying um, to get my labs done. My lab partner would have COVID. There was miscommunication with our professor because we couldn't go to lab. And so I really like sat down and thought to myself, like, oh, like, is this really something that I want to do for like forever? And so like a big part of the reason that I went into the healthcare field, or I was in like my major was biology, was because I wanted to help people. And I think that's where it all started. And my senior year, I actually transitioned to another office there at TAMU, where I was a student success mentor and I was working for the Office of Recruitment. And I got to go to high schools, and the high school that I was assigned to is called Lyndon B. Johnson High School, and it was for like a lot of the students were first generation, a lot of students didn't have social security numbers, didn't know how to do FAFSA, and so I got to be that person that was there for them and tell them like, you know what, you can go to college. And my supervisor did pull me into the office and was like, Mariana, like, you know, you could do this for the rest of your life. And I was like, wait, what? How? Um, and so he was the one who kind of like directed me and found me some connections to our Sahi program. And so there was an alumni who actually was my orientation leader who ended up doing the Sahi program that also worked at the office. So it's just crazy how small our field is. And her name's Bianca. She was actually also a fellow. And I met with her and she told me all about Sahi and I applied. And it was actually the only program that I applied to. So I was kind of putting all my eggs in one basket. And so like if I didn't get accepted, my supervisor was like, it's okay. If you don't get accepted, you have a job here. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'll still be working in higher ed. But yeah, so it was and I mean, I was also like I was very active in a bunch of different organizations. That also led to just my love for serving and helping students and just being a part of all of that. So I got to see like I was chair for the big event. So I got to see all the behind the scenes that we now as a full-time professional that we get to do. And so I think it all had like I'm a firm believer like that everything happens for a reason and everything connected, and it just ended up working out very well. I will say that I still kind of, in a sense, use my degree or use my experiences. Currently, I have a living learning community of STEM students, and so getting to talk to them about their applications and what assistantships look like and summer internships, because I got to do all of that. And then even then, my first year as a graduate hall director, I was with the honors students, and so I was able to connect with a lot of those students who were doing biology and the biochems and the microbios. And so I still find a way to sort of like connect it, but yeah, I just had great mentors and great individuals who kind of guided me and saw my talent and didn't stop believing in me. And so yeah.
That's amazing. I think we don't realize it, but we're actually all double majors or triple majors because there's that hidden major of like you're majoring in learning, right? Like, yeah, your biology or what have you, but there's so many transferable skills that you have. And so again, that's one of the things I tell my students. I'm like, you could learn about whatever you want to learn about, but doesn't mean you have to like find a job in that specific field. That there's infinite possibilities and you're developing as a person. So it's really cool to hear just another testament to that. That's really cool. Jaime, your turn. Like what was you were still in education, but what was that? You mentioned I think you said your senior year you went to a TACUSPA conference. So was that the light bulb moment or what's your story?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a TRIO alumni, and I think that's really was an important piece to me. My first job on campus was with a TRIO program, pre-college talent search. So we worked with sixth graders to 12th graders, and I started my freshman year. It was like 2 weeks into the semester, and I was like, I need a job. I don't know where to go, but I knew about this program because my sister was in the program. And it just opened my eyes to the different opportunities. I think I wanted to be an educator, not so much for like the teaching part. I think that's fun, but more so for like the guidance and the, what can I do in that end of things to develop them holistically. And so I think I didn't realize that, that's an actual job that I could do. I didn't have to go into this teaching field thing. And so I joined the talent search program and I just had so many different opportunities. I think we as institutional agents are important to providing validational experiences for our underserved, marginalized youth. And that's kind of what I was able to receive myself, but also provide to other students. And so I worked with primarily middle schoolers, building some of that foundational knowledge of what does it mean to be college ready. These are first generation low income students. And so I saw myself in them, and I got to finally be somebody I needed growing up. And I think that was just such a powerful experience that I didn't want to leave the program. And so my first full-time experience was with the Student Support Services, the College Trio program. And so I was able to really hone in into that skill of what does it mean for me to be to provide accessibility, to provide success programming, and hopefully see them, cross that stage. And it's been such a big it really feels full circle because I was an SSS student and they brought me to the TACUSPA conference. And last year I was able to bring some of my undergraduate students to the TACUSPA conference. And so it just was such a powerful experience. And I've really had the opportunity to grow because our TRIO programs were in the Division of Student Success. And so we were able to, attend those different events and attend the different monthly meetings to kind of celebrate and see what it meant to be a student success educator. I think like, you said my skills are very transferable. I just decided I didn't want to work with my second graders. I preferred my college students a little more. And so I still do a lot of similar things where I'm still educating them, helping them kind of develop and grow, and find joy in what they want to do. And so I think that's been one of my biggest piece. I was able to also serve in different organizations that were in our diversity office, and it really helped build who I am as a person. I was shy before, and I think I still am a little shy, but I definitely have been able to come out of my shell and advocate for others and use my voice in ways that I didn't think was possible before. And that was because of the different programming that I was involved with within our diversity office. And so I think I always knew that I wanted to be a part of, the higher education field in different capacities, whether that was accessibility into the field or being able to help our students grow because of the different leadership positions I've had within the diversity program, as well as within the TRIO professional associations too. So I think that's kind of been where I'm at. What's next for me? I definitely love leadership. I think that that's where I'm pivoting into. And so this role here at UT has been very vital to that to be able to integrate some of that leadership education into what I'm doing with my second years.
That's awesome. I can really sense your passion. My background, my undergrad major was business management. I'm a business management major. I worked in corporate sales for two different sales jobs because I knew it was a skill set I could fall back on connecting with people. But I remember after working for 5 years, 4.5 years, someone said, you can like get a master's in higher education and you can work. Like that thing that was so impactful for you, you can do that as a career. And so, yeah, it's just really cool to see, how everyone's journey, everyone has their higher ed story for the most part. There's not too many students I know that major, as a freshman in higher education. So really cool. Thank you all for sharing. The local radio host here in my town calls me the director of fun. I'm going to call you the director of joy because you just got this like grounded presence and you embody what you're speaking on today. So I appreciate that. We do have one question here in the chat. I've never been to San Marcos, so I'm about to turn this over to y'all. What are the best restaurants in San Marcos? Rick wants to work together and put a list of recommendations together for conference attendees.
I have one that I really like. I like Casa Maria. I'm allergic to gluten, so I probably shouldn't like I ate the enchiladas that were there, the enchiladas suizas. They were so good. Um yeah, they were delicious. So I really liked Casa Maria. There's also been like there's like lots of like little nice hot spots, but like off the top of my head, that's probably the first one that I could tell you that's really good.
So I have a little more experience in San Marcos and eating there. So I did li create a list of different eateries that, again, think about networking for first-time attendees or maybe to try to enjoy in and really centering in near the university. So you have like Cafe on the Square, which is kind of American, general things that you'll find in most places, but it really gives that homey feel. You can sense that it's where the local San Martians go for brunch in the mornings and things like that. We also have Italian Garden, which is like basically on campus, and it's really good and affordable. Black's Barbecue, if you're looking for barbecue, I definitely recommend Black's. It's such a good place. It's from Lockhart, and that is the home of barbecue for us. So uh, Craft House, Kitchen and Tap. I think that's such a great place to eat too. I think it's a little more like high energy. Sometimes they have karaoke going on and different aspects like that, but it really is a nice place to they have some like outdoor seating that you can enjoy and it's on the square, so really cool. And then Palmer's, which is just around the corner of the university. And that's definitely a local eatery that a lot of people enjoy. And if you get to experience something, I definitely recommend hitting up Palmer's.
Well, that's awesome. Finagling. I've gotten permission from my future supervisor to take, you know, time off. Won't count against me at a 10 TACUSPA, but working on the financial side of that. But my stomach's growling already. It's lunchtime. Um, sounds amazing. I've got one final question, but if there's anything else that's just itching at our attendees, please put it in the chat. We'll bring it up if we have time. But as we're in August, I blinked and summer's gone, and we're approaching a new school year. Uh, what are you looking forward to the most? What are you most joyful about? What are you looking forward to for this upcoming 2024, 2025 school year? You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I think I'm just really excited to be like like officially like a full-time professional, if that makes sense. Because when I was at A&M, I was a grad. But like I due to staffing shortages, I oversaw like a full-time building, and so I kind of got the feeling of what it was like, but like not really. And so I'm just excited to be like a full-time professional and like trying to see like what all of that looks like. Being like extracurriculars or just like what my relationship is going to be like with my staff and just like other professional development opportunities. And since I'll be starting school, like what that's going to look like once it's in like comes together with my 40-hour work week. I think like in terms of like my like job specifically, I'm really looking forward to getting to know my staff. I've been with them already for like 3 days and they already seem like a really good group of students. And so I'm just really excited to work with them, get to know them and just see what we can do for our residents and for our community this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, I went through my master's program full time while working full time. So actually being able to enjoy my evenings and weekends, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And just being able to really, uh, I don't know, I guess feel myself more and being able to do things that I love that brings me joy, and not have to worry about like, oh my gosh, I need to go read in the library till 1 a.m. and complete assignments and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. I like I had mentioned my fun fact, I did meet my partner at TACUSPA, hashtag we met at TACUSPA. And we are living on campus now. It's the first time I've ever lived on campus. They're residence director for Texas State as well. And so I'm actually looking forward to seeing what that like on campus experience is like. It's been just a great time to, I don't know, get to I missed out on so many different things that because I was a commuter student, and so I really like to be able to just roll out of bed and being able to hit up the library if I needed to or whatever it may be on campus. So looking forward to that. But in my professional life, definitely joining the Longhorn Network. Super excited to be here. at UT and being able to continue to expand out where my institutional home is and work with our second year students. For me, the second year was so important. It's when I changed my major. It's when I decided I wanted to go into student affairs and really get looked at this different, career major exploration. So being able to provide some of those, hopefully, validational experiences to our students that are struggling with that is going to be kind of rewarding for me. So I'm looking forward to be able to work with them and really, like I said, integrate some of that leadership education to make them feel like they're ready to take on the real world, the real world.
That's awesome. We've got a few more minutes here. Mariana, there's one question that's just for you in the chat. What motivated you to want to pursue a doctoral program, and what are you most excited about? Share some wisdom as someone who's interested in a doctoral program one day.
So actually like when I was applying, I was really like on the fence or like on the boat about applying just because I talked to so many of my mentors and so many other professionals about like continuing. And so a lot of individuals told me like, no, like wait, gain experience. And like ultimately at the end of the day, like I decided that I wanted to continue my education. I felt like I was in the right headspace, the right mindset. And yeah, like I do think like getting a master's was very difficult, lots of late nights, papers, but like I loved the learning piece and ultimately like where I want to be 5 years, 10 years, hopefully down the road. I believe having a doctorate would like aid in that and like help me and just be a better professional. And so I also think like a big factor was that again, I think like that motivation or like that passion that I have. And I hope like after I just attended like my doctoral orientation, as I mentioned, and a lot of the feedback that I got from like the professors or the other students that are with me in my program, they were saying how like it's a lot of persistence and a lot of resiliency. And I think right now, like coming out of my master's, that's how I feel. And so I'm hoping that I think with my doctoral programs, like about 3.5 years, I'm just hoping that that'll just continue as I continue in the work that I do and I dive into my classwork and assignments and just connections with other individuals. I will also say I think a big part of the fact is that I am not married or I don't have kids or so I have that freedom to kind of like yes, I'm a little worried about like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna navigate my time? But at the same time, I don't have any of those responsibilities. So I think that's also very nice and also played a very big factor in like why I wanted to continue to do that. But I do think like my love for learning is what I'm most excited about. And then just like the network that I already saw when I went for my orientation, the interest areas of my professors and on what I'm hoping to do my dissertation on is actually really exciting. They tell me that it's going to change. It might possibly change. But right now, like my main interests are organizational change and leadership and how that like matriculates down the ladder. And so, that's one of the areas that I'm currently really, really passionate about and interested in. It's very broad. Because I already talked about with my professors about it, and he's like, Mariana, we're gonna have to narrow that down. And I was like, okay, we can narrow it down, but I just need you to know that that's so far what I'm interested in. And so I think that's just what I'm excited about, like diving into it and getting to see what I can learn and how I can apply it now to my full-time role. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I think that's the one reason that I have. Like, it's not career advancement, it's not the additional debt, it's not just the love of learning, right? That's the only reason I would want to take, on more education is that I just want to grow and learn. So, and that's why we're here to learn from the wealth of knowledge and experience that these fellows have. We're gonna wrap it up there. I don't see any other questions in the chat. We'll give y'all some time back. Jaime, what was that hashtag again? Hashtag we met at TACUSPA. Is that what that was? That's
Yeah.
with our social media team. We'll have to put that out there. But thanks y'all for joining. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your experiences. Yeah, so much to be joyful about. So with that, we'll end there. So thanks everyone and have a great rest of your Wednesday and the rest of your week.
Thanks, Josh. Bye, guys.